Hello and welcome to Daily Politics on Trust TV. On this program, we discuss issues around politics, policy and governance. I am Shafi'u Suleiman. Despite claims by the Nigerian authorities that Boko Haram insurgents and their affiliate counterpart ISWAP have been decimated and degraded and their enclaves recovered, the recent multiple suicide attacks in Kazure, Borno State that left at least 18 persons dead and scores badly injured has left much to be desired. Although there was relative calm and respite amongst residents of the state due to efforts by security agencies to weaken the capacity and capability of the armed groups to launch any serious attack since the deadly suicide bombing that killed nearly 30 persons in 2019, concerns remain on the ability of the insurgents to regroup and plan such coordinated multiple attacks in Kazure, killing many innocent citizens. The attacks are coming on the heels of efforts by the state government and other development partners to rebuild, reconstruct, and resettle the displaced persons in addition to rehabilitating them to return to normal life after years of terror and horror that characterized their communities for nearly 2 decades. It is against this backdrop we'll be engaging with a Borno elder and a professor, Shatima Emeritus Professor Khalifa Dikwa, on the gradual return of the deadly days of suicide bombers terrorizing the state. He joins us via Zoom from Kaduna. Okay, we're still expecting Professor to join. We'll also be taking a look at the state of the nation with one of the spokespersons for the 2023 OBI-DATTI Campaign Council, Hajia Nana Kazure. She joins us here in the studio to review the Tinubu government handling of the nation's economy, security and welfare of the citizens. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me. Good evening.
And now to set the stage for the conversation, that is the second conversation, here is a report. As the nation's economic indices continue to nosedive, pushing more Nigerians into hardship, economy handlers of the Tinubu administration insist there are positive signs of recovery.
Because they have the elite and the academia around them to speak the big in English. But what we see is what we feel.
You don't need a rocket science. You don't need anybody to tell you. Things are tough. They are really tough, very, very bad. The economy is not improving by any stretch of imagination.
A serious economic crisis, no doubt. But we should not waste this opportunity. There is also a great opportunity in the economic crisis. And what is the opportunity? The way out of this economic crisis is that we need to be more productive.
It's a question of elite failure. The elite has failed and even confused. Don't even know how to fix the economy.
While realities in the country suggest measures being taken to halt the downward slide in the economic fundamentals are not working, some Nigerians say the situation is getting out of hand and requires a collective approach.
We can't get out of this economic crisis if we engage in permanent contestation, permanent disagreement. We need cooperation.
If you listen to news that time, there is no day you will not hear Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Activists fought for democracy, but now he's at the driver's seat and he's even confused, even more than those he was criticizing.
So many people are still holding the economy of this country by the jugular. They are the people they call the cabal. Whatever they are, the government does not seem to have the political will to call them to order.
I have this adage that says that a dog says when a ceremony is good, let there be remnants and evidences of it for people to see.
As the nations grapple with the impact of the economic decline due to yet to be addressed enablers such as soaring inflation, declining productivity, unmitigated corruption among others. We'll now take a short break and when we return our conversation commences. Stay with us. Thank you very much for staying with us. And once again, thank you for coming, Hajia Nana.
Thank you for having me. Good evening, everybody.
Yeah, it's been a while,
A very long while.
You've left opposition to your principles, Peter Obi, Atiku Abubakar are the ones, taking up the government and policies and actions. I don't know, but we'll talk about that much, deeper. Now, you watched that report.
Yes, I did.
Talking about the economic situation in the country. Let's start from there, because I think the economic issue is more biting, if you like, than any other thing in Nigeria. You listened to the submissions by those Nigerians.
Yes, I did.
So what do you make of it?
We're all speaking in the same, just we're using different words to say exactly the same thing. In the past year, you would know that Nigeria, the naira, I don't know if you're aware, but the naira, it has been the worst performing currency in the whole world ever since it was devalued. So
even though at some point it picked up and there was some sort of encouragement on the part of,
But this government has a lot. I think this government came in with a lot of overconfidence. Now, confidence is a good thing. But when you come with an overconfidence and then at the end of the day, you leave Nigerians where we are, food, we are at an inflation rate.
We are, because if you look at the prices, where they
That's I said that to get somewhere. Right. When you look at the inflation rates, it has tripled. And then we also know that the insecurity is still on the rise. So it's a recipe for disaster both ways. Insecurity and the fact that people cannot even afford the next meal. So definitely for the fact that the people are poorer than they were 365 days ago, it has given birth to crime. It has given rise to crime. People, it would seem like a very hopeless situation. We look at the government and they keep telling us, the times are austere. We should tighten our seatbelts. We should sit with them. But at the end of the day, this same government has put 760 naira per head per meal for a Nigerian, which we calculate, I think the budget came to about 155 billion naira. But then we want to purchase a plane.
You're talking about the palliatives,
yes,
right?
The palliatives for Nigerians. But we want to purchase a plane that's about 981 billion naira. So my question is, who is more important? The optics of an airplane or the optics of that Nigerians are being taken care of by her government? You removed the subsidy and promised us. And Nigerians have been, I must commend Nigerians. We're an amazing set of people. We've been very calm. You can see what's happening in other African countries, Kenya to be precise. They haven't even reached 1/4 of what Nigerians have had to go through, in the last year. And you can see them on the streets. But in Nigeria, because we are in politics, we are called gradualists. So somehow we tend to just always want to hope for the best.
But our Nigerians not being pushed to the wall.
Exactly. Yeah. We must not
because there's
be
a limit to
we're not exactly. There will come a time where, and the government should make sure it doesn't get to that point because of all the issues that we have, especially insecurity. It will not bode well by the time Nigerians are on the streets. So 155 billion for palliatives, but you're doing 15 trillion for a Calabar Lagos expressway. Coastal road. My point is this: it is fine and dandy, but then is it expedient for the Nigerian populace at
Which
this
one comes
time?
first?
Which one should come? Is it yes? Exactly. You should prioritize the welfare of the people and stop putting the cart before the horse. And that's why I said they came in with a lot of confidence, overconfidence, and at the end of the day, it would seem we all feel it, that they just came and they're doing a trial and error. They will speak all the right lingo, give you all the right grammar. But when we talk about the minimum wage, there's a 500 million naira budget for a committee, for goodness sake.
When, at a point, 62,000 naira is not affordable.
What can 62,000 naira do
wage
for a family of 4? And I'm putting this mildly. I'm not saying a father and mother with 4 children. I'm actually talking about a father and mother with 2 children. What can 62,000 naira do?
Cannot even buy
exactly. That's why I said they need to ensure that they create value around the naira and quickly.
Right. Okay. Before we talk about where we're not getting it right, just like you said, of course you can be a consuming country and you expect
absolutely
your value, your currency to have value. You have to be productive. Your principal has been talking about it for a very long time.
Consumption to production.
From consumption to production. But is this government towing this line beyond just spending on luxury, spending on palliatives that are not sustainable?
I cannot really. What I'll say is this: not to toot the horn of my state, but Jigawa State, where I'm from, I've seen the governor make those efforts to make sure that our state becomes more focused on agribusiness, and he's growing that, and he's working. Kaduna State as well. And there's one other state, I forget the state now, but Niger State. In fact, the governor of Niger State at some point actually said that he was going to toe the line of consumption to production. Look at the landmass of Niger State.
Production to consumption, rather.
Production to consumption. Exactly, sorry.
Right.
So that's it. So there are some states that are actually taking on those recommendations and following that advice, which is for the greater good of their people. Right. So yes, there are some states, but then we can do better. I think Nigerian governors can do better.
Yeah, you're talking about optics, and then prioritizing things that need to be prioritized. We're beginning to see trillions of naira. Now, not even talking about hundreds of billions, we're talking about trillions of naira. You talked about the coastal highway. The projection is that it's going to consume more than 5 trillion naira.
Another 5, yes.
And then here we are with a palliative of over 5 trillion naira. Again, we're talking about 10 trillion naira.
Exactly.
If this 10 trillion naira is injected into the right areas, the key areas,
education.
You're talking about hunger.
Exactly.
Food security.
Now, can I interrupt you there? I'm glad you used the word hunger because I wrote it here. How is it that it was more expedient for our legislator to give us an old new anthem in a span of 72 hours? But hunger is not expedient. It's not. They're not seeing it as an emergency. So then there's a problem.
Ordinarily, there should be an extraordinary seating or an emergency seating.
Absolutely.
To enact emergency on hunger, perhaps.
Absolutely, because children are dying on a daily basis. Already, Nigeria has not moved, the last time I checked, from being the poverty index of the world. And so if your people are hungry, but you have people sitting in the legislative offices who have obnoxious salaries, and allowances where they have hardship allowance. Who's giving the Nigerian that put them in office hardship allowances? We're the ones that go through the hardship. We're the ones in the front line.
At the point we're hearing about enjoyment allowances,
It's a joke. You can see we're laughing because it's a joke. They do not take the Nigerian people seriously.
I've had one of those, that responded, in that report, talking about an elite capture of the state. They failed. He said it's an elite failure, one, and then they failed to advance, solutions to the problem, even though they were at the front burner. A front row of critics, in the previous administration, criticizing, but here they are on the driver's seat. And then he said, to use his word, he said, they are confused.
They are clearly confused. And you see, when they first came in, they did mention that it was going to be a government of national unity. I haven't seen that. I haven't even seen the National Orientation Agency take the bulls by the horns. Nigeria is getting to a point where we are more polarized on tribal, ethnic, and religious lines than we were 4 years ago. And that is a huge tragedy. The National Orientation Agency has a duty, and that's why that agency is there. If not, then scrap it. They have a duty to be able to bring Nigerians together. There's the duty for what is our mantra? What gives us, and the beauty of Nigerians is that we are a very entrepreneurial people naturally. Yes, so you can see it when we go abroad, that we thrive and we do better than the people we met there, irrespective of your race, irrespective of your tribe or creed. So there's something in the Nigerian DNA. So it's not our DNA, it is our government.
Is it to say that, okay, we possess these qualities as Nigerians,
but no enabling environment.
That's what I'm really
There's no enabling environment for us to be able to do that which we were born to do in our country. Put us in an enabling environment, and the next thing is you hear that we've come to take over. And that's who we are. So why beat us down at home?
Yeah, someone said Nigerians are very easy people to govern, you know. All they need is the basic. Just give them the basics.
Give us electricity.
Give them electricity.
Give us running water.
Give them healthcare.
Healthcare, you know, and we'll do the rest. You know, let there be the basic education. Or Daily Trust on Friday, one in the newspaper I saw where the president of the Senate, Senator Akpabio, said they were going to build new hospitals for legislators. Hello, we have the National Hospital. We have the FM. Oh, how could I forget?
The FMC.
FMC, the Federal Medical Center. Why aren't we looking at using that money you want to use to build? Why don't we repair? Why don't we go and fix what is moribund? Why do we always want to come up with something new? When they travel out to these countries, go to even the United Arab Emirates, go to the UK, go to America. I hate to do this comparison, but it's necessary here. Right. You see that they have history that's 600 years old, 500 years old. They'll tell you this place used to be, for example, a church, but today it has now become a hospice for children. Yeah. We have buildings.
Even the conversation around building roads and what have you, some communities have gone beyond that.
We've gone beyond that.
We're still talking about...
you will now see ministers and commissioners commissioning motor parks. What are we thinking?
Yeah,
or not thinking.
Yeah, you try to just oppose, you know, the situation Nigerians found themselves, you know, beyond the economic quagmire. And then the insecurity. You said putting these two things together is a recipe for disaster.
Exactly.
Now, okay, let me get your assessment of the situation, you know, in the last 1 year in terms of security. We just talked about the return of the bombers, the suicide bombers in Borno.
And there's the clear and present fear and danger that you can begin to see replica in other states. And when it is women who are doing the detonating, then you know that there's absolutely no hope. Because women tend to have a conscience. Women would look at another person. You know, women are more perceptive. Women are seen to be more nurturing. Yeah. So when it is women doing the detonating, it means that, I don't know, her heart is right behind her. And she would rather she dies. She'd rather sacrifice herself. And even let her family earn, even though it's wrong. Yeah, so now back to the anyway. What are we doing to retool the minds of Nigerians? Right. Yes, you mentioned in that it's been few and far between. But what are we doing? It means that the minds of the people have not been retooled. Right. I don't know very much about the military, but then what are we doing about intelligence gathering?
Okay, we'll talk about that. I think Professor has joined us. Professor Khalifa Dikwa, thank you for joining us. Prof, are you there? Okay, Professor.
I'm with you.
Yes. Let me get your initial reaction to this incident that happened in Goza. You know, the multiple attacks, suicide attacks, you know, that took place. It is coming at a time, you know, some are beginning to think that we put all of these things behind us and we're even talking about resettlement, reconstruction and all of that.
The last time we had bombings was 4 or 5 years ago, 2019. And that was it. And people expected that it would not come back again. Personally, based on the researches I did comparing with other countries embattled with the similar scenario, similar ideology concocted and imported into the continent, I was not completely surprised, because I told those who are on ground that those who came from the United Nations, and so including the Secretary of the United Nations, to look at what is happening on the ground in Borno, to look at the Borno model, we're not here just to praise you and then help you everything. Some of them are there in order to do what is there. And what is there is that what to do in order to circumvent the Borno model that has made people now to go back to their farms, to their ancestral homes and abodes. So it was just a repercussion of what is in all over the world. It has never happened except in Borno, where an insurgency was begun and then getting ended by without inviting foreign troops. Borno and Nigeria is the first country, and in Africa around us, around Nigeria, all the countries around us were actually twisted to accommodate foreign troops. Nigeria is the only one that has refused to accommodate them. And that democracy has always been the target through which all this nonsense do happen. Why? At independence, Nigeria and GR Congo, Congo-Kinshasa, were targeted for similar things in order to just subvert the traditional values and create insecurity, create suspicions and so on. Congo was caught napping, Nigeria escaped. And then they have never stopped trailing Nigeria until another democracy came. They wanted to do it in 1983. The military took over. And what is there, ideally, is that politicians themselves were harassed. One, either they're harassed, bribed, or given deceitful favors, things that go against the cultural values of Nigeria as a peaceful country. Nigeria ought to have been a developed country by now, but the Western world will never allow Nigeria, because Nigeria is the leader of the continent.
Right. Okay,
and number two,
yes, Professor, beyond the international connections or the international politics, around it, there has been this concern that looking at, the situation in Borno and what the Nigerian authorities have been telling Nigerians, that the Boko Haram, operating, if you like, or yes, talking about the environment where they operate, has been taken over by the military. Talking about
they are interested
for instance,
in creating deep crisis for this country.
The time of General Buratai, it was said to have been taken over, and that forest used to provide space for them to come up with these IEDs, if you like. Some are beginning to find it difficult to comprehend now that this same Boko Haram elements that have been decimated and degraded could regroup, fabricate, if you like, or produce IEDs. And then
let me do correction. Boko Haram was just a name, and it is no longer there. Any other names can be tagged, can be taken around. So it's WAP and any other thing. And Goza is a neighboring country. Goza within, you have Pulka, you have Kirawa, and so on, neighboring Cameroon. And anything can happen to the borders. And they could be people from outside trained and brought in, not necessarily those, not the children who were invited, who surrendered and so on. They said no more. And those people who were asked to do the bombing in the past were actually drugged heavily drugged in order to remove any sense of pity and any sense of,
I think we have some technical issues.
Conference if they had the opportunity. So they were not normal people. They are just maniacs. They are just robotic at that time until things changed. And then, like I said, deep crisis, that is the target of those who are outside. Why? The asked them, they are doing the opposite of what they do at home, asking the politicians, Nigerians, always blackmailing them with little mistakes they did in the past in order to blackmail them and say, do this. When they do it, they'll bring another one. Asking Nigeria to remove the subsidy. And they send people to the media and just to be the megaphone to say that actually only few people are enjoying. Government knows the few people. If government could not handle them, why allow them to continue? Why loading it on the people of Nigeria? Subsidy on transport, subsidy on whatever it is that affects the entire country in terms of essential commodities, subsidies on education and what have you, are rights of the people. Rights, not privileges. It's just like I gave the example several times that if there is no way your mother sells food and then you too buy expensively. There's no way it happens like that. And they are doing the opposite. In Europe, for instance, they don't have oil. They buy oil. They have the refineries. They subsidize the oil, the fuel, by 80% for their own people. But they are asking the Africans to do the opposite. Africans, Asians, and Latin Americans to do all of their own system is systemically racist. In order to that, they are interested in the resources of the continent, not the people, not developing the people. And the experts from the continent are given citizenship to go over and be citizens there.
Professor,
yes,
now that you're trying to establish a nexus between, the growing insecurity and, of course, the issue of governance, which is very fundamental. Professor, looking at also our security forces, the security agencies, do you think that there is some level of relaxation on the part of our frontline security agencies in terms of dominating, the front line? Because it is only when Boko Haram elements have the leverage, if you like, the space to be able to regroup and then be able to do what they do. What do you make up with the resistance, if you like, or resilience of our security forces at the front line?
If we have a sense of history, Nigeria had just a few thousands of the military, and within
seems to be
and finish all this thing within 30 months.
While we get that, I was talking about dominating the scene. The expectation from Nigerians is that now that the Boko Haram elements and those ISWAP have been chased away, if you like, from their original enclave, the Sambisa and the rest of it, there should be some level of domination of the entire landscape. That's one. And then there shouldn't be any breathing space for them to even regroup or think of coming back to stage such a coordinated attack, for instance.
And that's what I was saying just before Professor came and joined us. Right. I've written so much from what he has said. I could listen to him speak all day because he really shed light on a lot of things. That's right. And that's where I was talking about intelligence gathering. Yeah. So what measures, apart from kinetic measures, are we putting in place? How are we exploring the non-kinetic measures? How are we able to get the people? We must commend our troops. Honestly, I think they do an amazing job. It's not easy for you to be the person who pledges to lay your life for your country. So, but then the government must equip them. The government must train and keep retraining them. The government must pay them well so that they don't fall into the hands of people who are there to bribe them. Because we know that there's a lot of corruption that goes on. But then it's important that they work hand in hand with the residents. Because if they're unable to gather proper intelligence, then we will always fall prey to people going in and regrouping.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, Professor, because there was an initiative, substantially the insurgency was said to have been defeated with the support of the locals, especially the Civilian Joint Task Force they call JTF. Substantially because of understanding of the terrain and their ability to also get this intelligence they're talking about was what led to the success recorded.
Absolutely.
Now, at what level is such collaboration is what I wanted to ask, Professor. But yes, you raise a very important issue, which is intelligence gathering, and it's also tied, if you like, to issue of governance.
Of course.
You know, part of it is, even though some will say governance in Borno to some extent, you know, is responsive, should I say? Because we've seen, you know, whether it is the media, you know, whatever. But then you've seen how the governor himself has been going out, you know, to engage with the people, to address some of those concerns and all of that.
The governor himself, as well as the people of Borno State, should be commended as well. But you also did hear the Prof say that a lot of these people had come in from other parts of the country. And we do know that so that's it, governance again, our immigrations, our customs, our borders are too porous. So it's going to have to be a collective work, the people, the government, and our military forces. We cannot work in silos. Because then there will be people who will fall through the cracks, and that's what we see happening. Yes.
Right. Okay, Professor is back. Professor.
In layman's terms.
Yes, Professor. Yes, I just asked Nana Kazure talking about the need for collaboration. Professor. Yes.
Yes, she's on point. All the points she made are accurate and utterly exact. All the points she made.
Yeah.
And let me say that you said Boko Haram was defeated. It was actually defeated. It is another one that is just number 2, number 3 being resuscitated. And the plan was never to end it. IDPs in the world have never been planned to end. It was there for others to make money out of the videos that they sent there to get money. Borno is the only Borno model.
Oh, unfortunately, a signal again is getting back. But yes, he was making a point.
Are you getting me well? I can see you. I can hear you well.
Okay,
Professor, I can hear you well. Are you with me?
Yeah, go ahead, Professor.
Are you with me?
Go ahead, Prof.
Yes, it is a different scenario. This is not only Boko Haram. The names are there, just nomenclatures. There are different targets for one, plan B, plan C against Nigeria as a leader of the continent, about the huge resources underground. And
yes, Prof. Okay, still battling with the network, but he was making a point, you know, looking at the economics of the war and all of that, and people who are benefiting. He talks about the international connection and
of course, it goes without saying. In fact, I'm really glad that he brought that up, because I had written in my notes, I said, it is high time Nigerian presidents, especially African presidents, we need to, and I use the word, domesticate the recommendations of the World Bank, of IMF, because we know that you heard when Prof mentioned to us that other countries, when it comes to their energy, they subsidize, but they're asking Africans and us Nigerians especially to do the reverse. It's not to our benefit, it is to their benefit and to keep us enslaved. And we will have none of it, especially if we have the right leaders in place. Domesticate the advice that they give to you as the president, and look at how it will affect your people. Will it work for them or not? Will it bring, you know, will it chart a better course?
But what happened to the pension? What happened to the pension for borrowing? People who do this will tell you that
55%.
they are interested in getting the loans from the IMF and the World Bank, and they take their prescriptions.
But that's what I'm saying. Just because I've taken your loan, you see, that's the thing. We need to be able to do a separation and ask ourselves what are the fundamental questions. Which is why I said when they came in with an overconfidence, it's not to take a dig at them. But at the end of the day, if you were to loan me some money, you should be able to meet me halfway, because Nigeria is a sovereign country. Are we still slaves to the IMF and to the World Bank? Those are very important questions. And that's why we have to even limit our borrowing.
But initially we're talking about
inwards.
Yeah, initially we're talking about productivity. You know, you rely largely on, you know, importations and all of that. You fail to develop the local
I am
economy?
just an active citizen, so what I can do is make the recommendations to the people who are there, but to the people who sit at the helm of the affairs of Nigeria. But then Nigerians are speaking to them, and I did
Do
speak
they
about...
seem to be listening? Because
they seem to be tone deaf. I did say it at the beginning that if you notice, we're all saying the same thing in different words. So there's a symphony of Nigerians complaining, but I think they're waiting for a cacophony when it becomes chaotic. Perhaps
even though we're not encouraging violence, but then engaging the leaders to do the needful.
Absolutely.
But then looking at the whole situation, since we're talking about insecurity, just recently there was a coming together of governors in the northwest.
Oh yes.
Because Katsina, to talk about, to propose solution to the issue of insecurity, for the peace and peace and stability of the region and so on. But just hours after that summit, or rather a conference or whatever, there was an attack in Katsina, same Katsina. 7 people were killed in Musa, and a number were abducted, and all of that. Even in Kaduna, there were also similar attacks. So of what essence is this? What impact are these gatherings making beyond the need to address the fundamentals, the triggers?
You've answered your own question. Nothing. We they go and gather themselves in air-conditioned rooms and speak I've said it, they speak all the right grammar, they say all the right things, but then there is no immediate positive effect on the people they say they are speaking on behalf of. Sometimes it should be a town hall. Sometimes it should be more engaging. You need the people of those areas. You need the traditional and religious rulers of those areas to come to the table. Sometimes we might have to do it at the bottom of a mango tree. Do you understand?
Engaging the locals.
Engage the locals. If you don't give these people a sense of belonging.
Right. Okay, I understand. Prof is back. Professor, we are, at the point we're discussing the need to domesticate or to, humanize some of these government's efforts towards addressing problems. Earlier, we're talking about Borno and how, the involvement of local vigilante, the JTF, help, to substantially address the problem.
Yes.
How much of this engagement are you seeing in the last couple of years?
The civilian JTF have been doing a lot of work, very marvelous work. In the past, even mothers who saw their own children with something fishy, they reported them to the authorities. The difference with Borno and other places is that in Borno, nobody, no criminal, no terrorist is killed, and nobody defends them the way they are defended in elsewhere, where somebody will declare secession, ask people to kill the military, kill the police, destroy, and so you see lawyers to go and defend him. It doesn't happen in Borno, and therefore the lady is very much in point. The traditional values have been there with democracy that imported. They have not allowed us to internalize, to Nigerianize our constitution. And therefore, they try to remove the say of the traditional leaders, traditional and religious leaders, as she said. And the people are closer to them, much, much closer than everybody. The plan was to take away security, to take away the enrollment in school, to take away whatever the people are interested in, deliberately to alienate the people and for them to feel not belonging to the system. And today, as we are talking today, nobody is talking about the political parties again. We are talking about security everywhere. And money is being budgeted. And why is it that Nigeria cannot employ more hands because of the land mass, for instance, of the country? Our own military are doing more than it was even required for 6 months. Maximum for even the civil war was 3 months, 3 years. From today, 14 years above, they are still there, fatigued. They are also human beings. And then sometimes you see them, they are underpaid and so on. But with the coming of service chiefs, particularly the defense boss, Christopher Musa, the thing has improved. And when you check within and outside, the real saboteurs are those who are harboring the criminals within the political system. And therefore, I gave the example earlier. Why is it that the two countries that have oil, for instance, Angola and Nigeria, have not been able to fix their refineries? The answer is that the foot soldiers are there. They are handsomely paid from outside and inside, not to allow Nigeria to have refineries and electricities. For Nigeria to import crude oil, here that even our own Dangote was asked to import crude oil. What a shame. This is the kind of thing they want to impose on African countries. And Nigerians, even Africans, have not been able to come up to say what the people are doing. Imagine a bill passed within hours without the consent of the people they are representing, both at the Senate and House of Reps. This is a dictatorship by civilians. Yes.
Okay, Professor, yes, I mean, people have been speaking. I've had the former Vice President, Dikwa admonishing the government, the current government, not to allow the Northeast, to slide back to those dark days of the, suicide bombings and so on. And looking at what is on the plate of the government, the insecurity ravaging the Northwest and North Central, for instance.
Yes,
how do you think the government can...
Don't finish your sentence. Don't finish your sentence. A country is like a body. What affects the nail will eventually affect the entire body. We shouldn't limit it to the Northeast alone. At that time, I was a student back in 1984. When I returned from studies from Europe, I was able to see those things, the plot against Nigeria. And I started talking about when we were returning to 1999 election, whatever it is, that 98. And I warned Nigeria not to fall into the trap. Instead of supporting me and commending me, I had people within the government who are attacking me, who are harassing me with cause. It means whatever you call it, Iswa, Boko Haram are also inside the government, irrespective of the parties. Yes, working for outsiders. That's a very
strong allegation, Professor. You mean they're inside the government?
Inside the government. It is inside. Those who are inside are doing the nitty-gritty in order to block the fixing of the refineries. The fixing of electricity not going beyond 4,000 megawatts.
So, Professor, as we round up, I would like to get your recommendations. What needs to be done, perhaps, to stop this slide? Because it appears we are sliding back to the dark days of the bombings and so on. What needs to be done urgently, to turn the tide?
Fine. I want the government to lift the ban on the military officers to say what they know, to say the truth, and to say what they need to end it. Number two, employ more hands, just like about 1 million of youth who are there. Employ them for short training, they can do it. Number three, dialogue, have a dialogue with those who are really fighting for a particular cause. We can meet in another country, but those who refuse to listen will be crushed. What is the use of the Tucanos that we bought? And we bought it, look at the way we bought it. We had to pay money and wait for it. Meanwhile, people were getting killed. And it is all over. It is to distract the country to look at Gaza for it.
Oh, unfortunately.
Else.
I was making a
and
point
it is
there.
just a plot not to allow Nigeria to have to enjoy
the issues in the polity. Yes, and time
so much, and that's a huge indictment on the government. We're talking 24, 25 years, and still he says there are members of the ISWAP. There are members of allegedly. It's an allegation, but then, like he said, it would be good for there to be a lift on the ban for the soldiers to say what they know, because that's the only way that we can now decide that, okay, we're working together and that we are a team. If Nigerians do not work as a team, you know, all arms of government, including the citizens, including the citizenry, then we won't go very far, unfortunately.
And it also means that doing that will, you know, I mean, show that the government has the political will to deal with the situation.
They haven't shown us. I'm sorry. The government hasn't shown Nigerians, and that's why it's recurring. They haven't shown us, and that's why you can see criminals, bandits, can have the impetus that government stakeholders, including just the recent past president, have a meeting in Kazure State, and they dare to attack same state a few hours later. That takes a lot of...
In some cases, even given locals assurances of protection, you know, outside.
Yeah, you see locals actually paying taxes.
Right. Okay. Very quickly, we need to look at the polity also. Yes, there has been this sort of alignment and realignment of forces after the 2023 election. Your principal was with Dikwa at some point. You know, Konkoso was recently with Erufai, and so on and so forth. There has been this, you know, visitation, so to speak. What do you think is cooking, you know, for 2027?
What is cooking for 2027 is the fact that you see, Nigerians are used to the kind of opposition that APC gave the PDP, where it's fighting, vitriol, everything, you know, they just throw the kitchen sink. But I'm actually sitting back as a young politician, and I'm saying to myself, I like the way they're going about things. It's silent. You just see the movement on the chessboard, which is a good thing, because I have always said Nigeria will not bode well if we don't align and realign for the greater good of Nigerians.
Yeah, aligning for the greater good of Nigeria.
Absolutely.
That's what many are also questioning, whether is the coming together is actually, we've had people talking about elite capture of the state and all of that, and these are still part of the elites, people who have done it before and keep recycling and all of that. Okay, but let me get also, let me also get your feel, you know, of how you are responding to the Rofo fight between your principal and the senator representing, you know, the FCT and the FCT minister. Just a while ago, he was asking her to go and hug a transformer if she's not happy with, you know, and all of that. Do we need all of that?
No, we don't. And, well, where he said she should go and hug a transformer, this is my response. In Nigeria of today, those transformers don't have light, so they don't have any effect. So it's not even...
Are you generalizing? Transformers, even those at the villa, you mean they don't have light?
There's no light. It's part of the things when we talk about our SDG goals. We do not have power. So there's the Nigerian transformers, please, whatever he was saying, but this is what I'll say. He, Minister Nyesom Wike, was appointed to serve the people of the FCT. Senator Ireti Kingibe was elected. She is elected to serve the people of the FCT. So I'm going to say this to them. As somebody who respects the rule of law, respects their positions, their respective positions, but it's very important that they stop playing like children, like toddlers, like 2-year-olds, and think about the greater good of the people of the FCT. They've got to sheathe their swords, whatever it is, and then they need to look, because we are in the FCT and there are places that don't have basic running water. There are places in the FCT where education... There's a place in the FCT that I went to visit. The children walk 8 kilometers. Oh, what's the name of this place? It's Kato or Kate. No, it's not in Katy, but I forget the name. The children, young girls, have to walk 8 kilometers to and from school. By the time they come back, they're tired. They cannot help with house chores. They cannot even do their homework. Sheathe your swords and come to the drawing board. Find a way to work together. Put your egos aside and work for the people that you are there to serve. That's my...
Oh, okay. Yeah, even I wanted to ask, but I understand time is not on our side. You know, perhaps the threats, you know, ahead of 2027.
No, he cannot speak for the people of Abuja.
Right. Okay.
Buhari, former President Buhari did not even win his polling unit in the villa.
Right.
So he cannot. Abuja people will tell you that they are an educated electorate.
Yeah.
So they know what they want. BK is not, Abuja is not Rivers State. Please, we need to let him know.
Okay.
Abuja is not Rivers State.
Thank you very much, Nana Kazure, for talking to us on Daily Politics. I wish we had more time.
Yes.
We wish to have you some other
Especially
time.
to listen to the Prof.
Okay. Thank you very much, Professor, for also joining us all the way from Kaduna and your informed perspective. Professor Khalifa Dikwa is an elder, a Borno elder, and of course, a professor emeritus. Thank you very much for your inputs. And viewers, that's a wrap on today's package. We sincerely hope you found the conversation engaging and informative. Be sure to join Daily Politics Live, airing every weekday, and also a special package on Friday, during which we open our telephone line for you to comment on national issues. Once again, I'm Shafi'u Suleiman.